House Speaker Mike Johnson offering a reaction to these threats against incoming Trump administration officials, saying on X, quote, "This year there was not just one but two assassination attempts on President Trump. Now some of his cabinet nominees and their families are facing bomb threats. This is dangerous and unhinged. It is not who we are in America." He's calling on the president and Democratic leaders to have an obligation to speak up about these threats. What's your make of these threats, and how quickly do you think we'll get answers about who may be behind them?
Yeah, sure, Mike. And certainly, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, is that we don't tolerate that here in the United States. We don't tolerate political violence or threats of violence. And I can tell you, as a former FBI investigator, is that these things are not just pranks. These are serious crimes. They're crimes that, will be investigated. And in fact, to the point of investigation and prosecution, early this year, there were several people, one person arrested for making hundreds of swatting calls. Another individual had a 3-month campaign of making these calls. And as recently as last month, someone else was arrested in Florida for doing something similar. Sometimes they're not as easy to investigate, the day after. It requires a little bit of kind of peeling back the electronic onion as to how these things manifest themselves, whether they were, text messages, whether they were phone calls, or somebody tried to, hide their true identity, their true phone number, true email address, and server information behind some other protocols. However, they will be investigated. Mike, and also talk about the seriousness. Now, one case where the individual was on a 3-month campaign faced 15 federal felony charges. Once the FBI found him and arrested him, it does fall under Title 18 U.S. Code Section 115, which actually protects officials in government from them and their families from being the target of such threats.
On Bret Baier's special report last night, we got into it with the panel. Let's play this clip.
It's horrible and unnecessary. I think it pulls really valuable resources from law enforcement and these local communities away from things that they could be doing and protecting the community.
This is an era where political violence and harassment is real and it's live, and we have to do something about it. And I think that's what people are looking to the incoming Trump administration to do.
What more do you think can be done about it to shut down these kinds of threats going forward?
Well, certainly, I think by having kind of very more public, visibility on these arrests and prosecutions will certainly send a chilling effect to people who have those intentions. Also, I think anyone who knows, in a way, harbors an individual, knows about their activities, is in any way complicit in them, also realize that they face serious charges. Mike, I think over the past few years, unfortunately, because on the local level, we've had a number of people who kind of get released from bail, commit other crimes, and people see this maybe as kind of a very soft society when it comes to crime. I can just tell you, as I know the incoming administration will not take that view, and I'm certainly glad to hear that they will not be either intimidated or deterred from what the electorate chose them to do.
This comes on the heels of a presidential campaign where the president-elect of the United States, Donald Trump, was the target of several assassination attempts. We know that leaders on Capitol Hill are planning a hearing next week trying to compel testimony from the ATF. What are your expectations on that front as leaders on Capitol Hill try to dig into these assassination attempts?
Mike, I saw that and I read an article regarding kind of their subpoena of these two individuals, these two ATF agents or employees. I just don't understand, both, coming from being a former, FBI investigator, as well as in my time in the public sphere, why people wouldn't come forward. Why do we have this lack of transparency with our government and people investigating these type of incidents? So I hope they get to what they need with furthering the investigation and the inquiry from Capitol Hill. If there are certainly things that any law enforcement agency needs to tell Congress people, they can do it in private if they don't think a public forum is the right way to do it. But I just don't understand this whole lack of transparency, and hopefully that will be a change forthcoming as we get into the next 4 years.
Bill Daly, grateful for your time and your analysis today, sir. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, Mike.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.